face earned her millions. But a mountaintop misadventure almost cost this supermodel her life. At number 14 on the list of incredible survival stories, Christy Brinkley's near-fatal mountaintop crash.
That helicopter crash was beyond terrifying.
Heli-skiing. It's a snow skier's white dream. High-altitude slopes, pristine powder, and no one around for miles.
It's really a unique experience with people when you drop off and the helicopter flies away and you're up there in the mountains and you've got the slopes all to yourself.
But the high-stakes adventure also carries some major risks.
Helicopters are like flying coffins, and you get them up at altitude where the air is thin and icy, and they work a whole lot less.
In April 1994, supermodel Christy Brinkley and a small group of friends paid top dollar to heli-ski near Telluride, Colorado.
One of the people who was heli-skiing with Christy that day was Rick Taubman, and they were just newly introduced to each other and just enjoying the day together.
Also on the trip was Christy's good friend Sandra Carradine and Sandra's 11-year-old son Cade.
Friends couldn't believe I was going to get to go helicopter skiing for the first time in my life with the world's most famous supermodel. It's kind of a dream afternoon.
In the morning, Brinkley and the others skied a couple of runs down a slope nearly 12,000 feet above sea level.
The group was having so much fun skiing, so they decided to go to a higher elevation. It was a clear day, so they thought, sure, let's go for it.
But as the helicopter was landing, it suddenly started to plummet toward the ground.
All of a sudden, it just started to plunge. And I looked at the pilot like, is he doing this deliberately? What's going on? And then I could see the rocks and snow of this 18,000-foot peak, you know, coming up at us like a special effect in a movie.
It's possible that the pilot lost control because of some crazy weather phenomena, an updraft off the mountain or a downdraft.
The chopper crashed onto the snowy mountainside, crushing one of its support skids.
Everyone in the helicopter was thrown subsequently out. I was the only one that was left as it hit and tumbled all the way down the mountain.
Now being pulled on the outside of the wreckage down the hill, and I look, there's this nylon rope of some sort wrapped around my leg, and I thought, that's what's going to kill me. That nylon thing is what's going to kill me.
Eventually, the wreckage came to a stop just a few feet from the edge of a deep ravine.
I look and I see this just steep, littered with pieces of helicopter and clothing and just things strewn across the face of this mountain. And suddenly, one of the pieces moves.
It was 11-year-old Cade Carradine. He was bruised and bloodied, but still breathing.
And he starts to stand, but we're on such a steep pitch that he starts to just slide down to where that cliff is. So I sort of threw myself on him, and we came to a stop just next to the body of the remains of the helicopter. And we just held on to each other for a minute.
Cade's mother, Sandra, soon regained consciousness and joined them. But further downhill, Rick Taubman was badly injured.
I saw a crumpled body, not knowing who it was. It was actually Ricky Taubman that was downhill, completely motionless, and we thought Ricky was dead.
Out of all the people on board, Rick Taubman had the most injuries. He had 12 broken ribs, a broken collarbone, and a collapsed lung.
Everyone survived, but they were stranded on the mountaintop. The pilot radioed for help as a monster storm approached. It took rescuers 7 hours to individually airlift each passenger to safety.
By the end of the day, the storm had become so severe. If we hadn't gotten off the mountain when we got off, we probably wouldn't have gotten off alive.
Brinkley was able to walk away from the experience with only minor injuries. Taubman eventually recovered from his broken bones. 1 month after the crash, he proposed to Christy.
They decided to get married on the side of the mountain, almost directly next to where the crash happened.
Unfortunately, their survivor bonds weren't enough to keep the marriage together. Brinkley and Taubman divorced after less than a year.
Post-traumatic stress disorder is a disorder that happens after a crisis situation. And Christy associated her divorce with experiencing PTSD symptoms.
Christy still hits the slopes today, but the memory of her near-death escape stays with her.
To this day, if I allow myself to think about it, if I allow myself to really stop for a second and just think, I get so overwhelmed with fear.
The best thing you can do if you're ever in a helicopter crash is just strap yourself in and brace yourself, because the last thing you want to be doing is being slammed around like a rag doll when that bird goes down. And once you're on the ground, you got to get out quickly because there's the risk of fire, or the helicopter could move from its position.
When we come back, a commuter bridge gives way over a massive river. One man's hellish fight for life.
Just a rush of fear came over me. You're gonna die.